what skills are the most relevant. I think to keep it very simple, it has to start with your resume, because if you don't have a resume that's getting you noticed, then unfortunately the next steps won't really work out. So there's a trick to articulating your story on your resume, because you have to know you're going against many candidates, but you're also going against a computer that's analyzing your resume before a recruiter even takes a look at it. So you need to be very certain about everything you're labeling on your resume, from, as Tom mentioned, a programming language, APIs, frameworks, databases, cloud infrastructures, and in addition to your relevant work experience. And most important thing I can share is test your resume, get it graded. There are many AI platforms where you can upload your resume and it grades it for you. So before you even dive into the relevant experiences and what you need, the starting point is having a resume that will get you noticed.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm just going to do a follow-up question real quick. The follow-up naturally is going to be, you mentioned that there are websites. Could you list like one or two websites that they could plug and play as it relates to their resume?
Absolutely. I will share it in the chat so we can keep the discussion going, and I will share it for everyone.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Adekunle, when it comes to skills and qualifications, what are you noticing out there?
Yeah, so there are a couple of ways to think about this. When you talk about skills, you can talk about soft skills and you can talk about hard skills. So what I will do is I'll mention just one soft skill that I think is super important. And then I'm going to list a bunch of hard skills because I think that sort of gets your foot in the door from like a chops perspective. And then you can begin to sort of layer on the soft skills on top of it. So one soft skill that I've found that's really, really super important is curiosity. Curiosity. You have to be very curious because it's a very dynamic field. It's a very dynamic area. Things are always changing. Problem sets are always changing. The domains are always changing. So curiosity, I think, is going to be super important from a soft skill perspective.
I agree with Tom what he mentioned with especially Copilot. I believe that's the program. It is Copilot, right? I'm not mispronouncing it. Okay, awesome. Just to add some more thoughts into that context. So the question is emerging trends in AI to be aware of. See, when I was in a coding school a few months back, when I got stuck writing code, I had to go to someone and ask them, or I had to Google it and find some sort of resource on Stack Overflow. But see, now we can actually eliminate all of that. We can go straight to Chat GPT and ask it, say, hey, explain this code to me. How can I write it? What does this mean? What am I doing wrong? And within minutes, we have the answer. See, just a few months ago, we actually did not have this. So I think right now, someone else was articulating that being an engineer is a great field to be in right now. And it truly is, because we have the answers at our fingertips. So one of the tools to really be aware of in simple terms is GPT, because you can be a really good coder by simply just spending time on it, by asking it to explain what you're writing and asking it to improve it.
Non-technical positions that you will actually look to get into, just so that you can transition within the company to other areas. So when you're answering some of these things, Tom, I know it's you, and you're smiling at me. If there's any titles, give me the title first, and then also talk about the transition over into AI, as well as, for people who don't have those skills, because 9 times out of 10, the industry is buzzing right now, but there's a lot of people that just don't have the automatic skill sets that it would take to acquire some of those jobs. So I think I made sense out of nonsense right now. I'll start with you.
Well, let me get started. I mean, that was quite a lot of questions in there, so I won't try to unpack them all. But let me get started and then leave the good ones for the other guys. So let me start with a joke, which is that every time I give somebody on my team a promotion and their title, it gets the letters AI, ML, or the word algorithm in it, they get poached within about 3 weeks by another company. And that really hurts. They get offered 50% more. And I can't compete with that. So that tells you a little bit about what's hot right now. I mean, literally it's happened to me twice in the last month. So that's why I'm particularly sore at the moment. Some of those titles. So, people coming in might come in as, if they're more on the sort of data side and they have less of the traditional software engineering, they might come in as a data analyst, junior data analyst. And if they learn enough through the kind of mentorship that Micah was talking about earlier, they might become a data scientist. So if they've picked up some hard statistical skills, if they didn't learn them through some formal education, or if they've got more familiar with some of the AI techniques. And I was surprised to learn recently that linear regression is now considered to be ML. That surprised me because that was called statistics when I was at high school. But anyway, things changed, don't they? So some of the other titles, yeah. So I mean, we can argue all day. That's not about the difference between a data analyst or a data scientist. But that was kind of the one track. And then the other track would be, I think this might be the title you were looking for, Annie, the software engineering type. So this tends to be some of the hard skills about understanding architecture, systems, which I think I may have the wrong person. Forgive me. I think it might have been Farhad who brought this up earlier about how important this was. Sorry if I've misallocated that. The thinking about working not only as an individual, like you might do at high school on a project or in a coding camp. Well, actually, coding camps are very good at the teamwork aspect. But thinking about something that goes beyond, that's going to live beyond a prototype or a first version. Thinking about the fact that that's going to evolve, that's going to be a second version and a third version, and how that's going to evolve over time, and that you need to make it somehow forward and backward compatible. Deployment. Processes, etc., being more again on the software engineering track. So, do these tracks ever meet? Are there people who have both kinds of skills, the sort of the curiosity data analyst and the sort of more blinkered software engineer? I've seen a few, but not that many. And I've definitely spoken enough. So let me hand over to Farhad to take it further.
Thank you so much, Tom. So just to add some more context to what Tom has just mentioned, I think, and just to reiterate the question is, I believe Amy had asked that, hey, what about non-tech jobs in AI, for example? So essentially, if I understand correctly, the question is that, hey, I don't have the technical experience, I don't know how to program, but what can I do in order to get a job in the tech field? Like what kind of non-tech jobs exist within the tech jobs? The thing is that we are at a point now that every job will require some sort of technical skill, and if it doesn't, then you will be going against 500 candidates. Why? Because many of those candidates recently, there were unfortunate situations where they are now looking for a similar job, just like the one you're applying for, that doesn't require as much technical knowledge. Now, there are some good parts into this, because the good part into this is that we are at a point where technology has been solved for us. So we don't need to know what's going on underneath the hood. We don't need to know anything about the programming. We just need to know what's been built for us and how can we utilize it within our day-to-day to help a company with their let's say, go-to-market strategy, sales acquisition. So I will share a link in the chat again. This link essentially has all of the AI platforms, companies that are releasing products every single day. And if you can just spend time, maybe 1 hour of your day, just learning what exists, you will now be 10 steps ahead without needing to know the technical knowledge of how to program, how to do anything in regards to coding. But just understanding enough how these products work will put you 10 steps ahead. And that will help you getting into the technical field without having the technical experience, but knowing how technology works because someone has already built it for you.
I do have a slightly different take on that. I think when you think about technology as a whole, from like a company perspective, whatever product you see, so I'm not talking about just ML or AI, I'm talking like from a product perspective. Whatever your product you see is built by a team. And that team consists of folks with different skill sets, not just technical. One of the very important job function that I've seen very impactful to product, even AI product specifically, is the product manager role. And so if you're a product manager, I don't know folks who've had product management experience here, you could actually work on an AI product. That's as close as you can get to not being technical, but being able to actually work on very technical AI solutions. So you have all these other adjacent roles that allows you to work on AI products. So there's a product manager role. Depending on how big the company is, there are user experience designers.
Skills that we actually need. So, what we're seeing, kind of a lot of candidates come in straight from university without basic skills that we need, like how does Git work? How does, what's the CI/CD pipeline process? Just some pretty fundamental holes, but they're very good at data structures and they can show you how to build an operating system. So, in terms of making a transition, I can't stress enough the value of things like boot camps. And also I can't stress highly enough the value of things like mentorship. So getting into an internship, even if it's unpaid, is going to be extraordinarily valuable for you. So those are kind of the two ways that I can recommend. I like Adekunle's suggestion of perhaps even looking at if you are in an adjacent area like product management, or maybe you are you're in the ops side. There's still roles for you on these machine learning teams. We need a lot of skills. Not everybody needs to design the algorithms. We also need to maintain them. We also need to watch the quality. We also need to monitor everything from cost to performance to latency and things like that. So there's a lot of adjacent jobs here that are part of bringing a machine learning algorithm to life and bringing it to the public that aren't just the engineer. So I would